Alright guys, so I wanted to talk to you a little bit about comedy as you're getting into the importance of being earnest. So that's what we're going to look at. Some things to remember about comedy. First, Molière, who was 18th century French comedian, says that comedy rips off the mask. Okay, so as we're looking at the comedic ladder, I want you to keep in mind kind of that philosophy, especially as you're getting into the importance of being earnest. Some things to remember about ladders, because we're looking at the comedic ladder. They start at the bottom, and you have to step on every rung to get to the top. That means that the highest rung of comedy is comprised of all the lower rungs. Okay, so we are actually going to look at the top one and move our way down, but just kind of keep in mind that they contain everything that's below them as well. Sorry, YouTube videos won't come through. So there's some things, we talked a little bit in live lesson about comedy theory and what it means for something to be funny. You guys had a lot of great answers. Dr. Richard Taflinger gives you 6 elements that he says are required for something to be humorous. One, the idea that it has to appeal to the intellect rather than just the emotions. Okay, so it makes you think, you have to be quick to catch it. It has to be mechanical, which means inflexible. For example, if I'm going to sit down and somebody goes and pulls my chair out from under me, that's only funny if I don't realize it and I still fall. Okay, but if I go, okay, you pulled my chair out, I'm not going to sit down, it's not funny. So there has to be some kind of inflexibility about the situation. It has to be inherently human. So, like, silly humans, you've seen those memes of, like, animals, like dumb humans. And so he posits that has to be the case. Whatever's funny about it has to point out something about our humanness. There has to be a set of established societal norms that are familiar to the audience. There was a video that I didn't show you, but it's Seinfeld, and he's doing an American Express commercial, and he's a comedian, and he goes to England, and he's telling all these jokes about American baseball and things like that, and nobody's laughing. And so then he kind of tours England, and he does another stand-up routine where he's talking all about cricket and using all of this British slang, and everybody thinks it's hilarious. So it's because, they're not all familiar with American customs and the things that we value, and vice versa. So that idea that you have to have that be in the same group, essentially, for them to think it's funny. Number 5 is that the situation, actions, and dialogue must be inconsistent or unsuitable to the surroundings. So something doesn't fit. It doesn't match. Something is not as it's supposed to be, in other words. It's the wrong thing to say or something like that. So 3 examples of this would be literalization. This would be like, I don't know if you ever read the book Amelia Bedelia, but this is where, it says, actually a better example that comes to my mind would be Hook, which is an older movie, but this boy's playing baseball and they're telling him to get a home run, and so he runs home. So that is, taking things literally. Reversal would be where something happens which is the opposite that you would expect, and then exaggeration as well. Exaggeration. And then the last one is that it has to be perceived to be harmless or relatively painless. For example, if somebody falls down the steps, it's only funny if they live. Okay, so if you fall down the steps, someone falls down the steps, breaks their neck and dies, people aren't standing around pointing and laughing. Then it's a horrible kind of thing. But if they fall down the steps and they're okay, then it's funny and everybody laughs. So that's kind of the idea there. All right, so those are the, according to Dr. Taflinger, the 6 elements that make something funny.